What's up, GBA fans? Welcome to Week 3, the GBA Season 3 recap. I'm Leader Geo.
And I'm Tony of TandATV, and we will be your hosts as we catch you up on all the events of this past week in the GBA. Another week of the GBA is in the books, with the rich getting richer, Geo. Many of the teams who have found success early in the season saw that success continue in Week 3.
That's right, Tony. Some teams seem to be locked in on their team's strengths and picked up some quality wins in Week 3. Other teams may just be looking to Week 4 after a rough go of things in this last week. Let's have a look at our first matchup, the Arizona Deoxys versus the New York Mankeys.
The New York Mankeys came out with a lot to prove this week after a 6-0 thrashing at the hands of Manaphy and the Leafeons in Week 2. Coach Shady Penguin coached his team to a solid performance, but the overall bulk of the Deoxys and power of offensive threats like Mega Mawile proved to be too much for the Mankeys to handle.
Coach Gubbs and the Deoxys now sit at 3-0 and look like the team to beat in a very competitive Blue Division and in the Kanto Conference. Meanwhile, Shady and the New York Mankeys dropped to 1-2 in what's shaping up to be a very competitive Red Division. Shady will need to right the ship quickly if he wants to return to the playoffs this season.
Right you are, Geo. Recent reports out of New York indicate that Porygon Z may not be happy after signing a long-term deal at the beginning of the season, with the expectation that this team would be contending right away.
Shady will definitely need to manage playing time and personalities of that team, which isn't easy to do in a city like New York. Moving on to match 2, we've got the Toronto Maple Leafeons versus the Atlanta Hawluchas. The Hawluchas walk away with a 3-0 win here in what has been considered a poor performance by the Leafeons.
It seemed like the Leafeons just weren't mentally ready to take on a tough, experienced Hawluchas team this week. Geo, do you see any signs of a hangover effect with the Leafeons?
Tony, the Leafeons put it to Shady and the Mankeys in Week 2, but in Week 3 the team just couldn't seem to get much going. Manaphy got 6 kills last week for the Leafeons, but didn't even bother to show up to the game this week. Just goes to show you that you can't take wins for granted in the GBA. Coach Fizz and the Hawluchas looking very impressive now, off to a 3-0 start.
Match 3 this week was between the Los Angeles Nido-Kings and the Boston Red Sox. Last season's champions looked good through the first 2 weeks of the season, but finally saw their winning streak come to an end at the hands of Coach Danza and the Nido-Kings.
The Nido-Kings and the Red Sox battled back and forth, trading blow for blow in a very competitive match, and in the end, the experience of the Nido-Kings and clutch games from Entei, Gliscor, and Mega Pinsir brought home the win for the Nido-Kings.
The Red Sox played well in this match, but just couldn't match the offensive firepower of the Nido-Kings, especially after losing their thunderous T early in the match. The Red Sox will definitely be looking for a big win next week to keep themselves near the top of the Kanto playoff race.
Moving on to match number 4, with the Denver Bronzongs led by Coach Roge falling yet again to Mega Mogwai's Real Maril 4-0 in a game that the Maril dominated from an early part of this match. Coach Mega Mogwai put on a great performance and bounced back from their Week 2 loss. Meanwhile, the Denver Bronzongs have lost 3 in a row to start the GBA season and are not finding the same success as their fellow expansion teams.
Right you are, Geo. Mega Mogwai and the Maril brought a great team to deal with all of the Bronzongs' top threats. The Maril may be an early season sleeper pick to make the playoffs in the Kanto Conference. But what are the Bronzongs thinking after another tough loss?
Tony, the Bronzongs are an expansion team with dreams of the playoffs, but those dreams may need to wait another year, though, as the Bronzongs may just be missing a few too many pieces to make a run this year. Mega Diancie, one of the top Pokemon for the Bronzongs, has made 2 pretty uninspired appearances, resulting in 2 quick deaths. If Roge wants the Bronzongs to pick up some wins, he'll need to get Mega Diancie going, and fast.
Let's move on to match number 5, featuring the Minnesota Timberwolves versus the Milwaukee Sawsbucks. Geo, wasn't this supposed to be the Pittsburgh Steelix?
Tony, a huge controversy this week as Swagalith, owner and coach of the Pittsburgh Steelix, sold the team overnight to the Sorkinist, who quickly moved the team to Minnesota and rebranded them the Timberwolves. Fans in Pittsburgh are outraged by this turn of events and can't believe the coach sold the team.
It's looking like Swagalith will be able to turn a nice profit on that sale, though, Geo. Back to the match. The Sorkinist and the Timberwolves fall to Coach Steve and the Sawsbucks 1-0 in a close game and a much-needed win for the Sawsbucks. Has Coach Steve finally motivated the Sawsbucks to start playing up to the level of talent present on that team?
Tony, the Sawsbucks were clutch down the stretch in that game. Even though the Timberwolves had only days to transition between Pittsburgh and Minnesota, Salisbuck's fans should be happy about the win. Moving on, game number 6 featured the Utah Jasmine going head-to-head against the San Jose Sharpedos. Coach Cooper of the Jasmine called all the plays for Agron in this fight and led the Jasmine to a huge 6-0 victory. Tony, what do you think about the Jasmine turning to Agron in this fight?
Geo, Agron definitely is not the focal point of this Utah Jasmine team, but it was called on this week and did its job masterfully. I'm sure that Coach Tom and the Sharpedos weren't prepared for Agron head-smashing his way through the Sharpedos team. Cooper is showing some excellent game planning early in this season, and with Swagaliff out of the league, you have to look to Cooper and the Jasmine as one of the playoff favorites in the Johto Conference.
The Sharpedos take a tough loss here, but they have a strong team and definitely still in the thick of the playoff race. Every team can handle losses at this point in the season, but 6-0 losses are especially tough because of the differential you lose after a loss like that. Coach Tom will be looking to grab some big wins moving forward to make up for this loss.
Let's move on to match number 7, the Cleveland Cavaliers at the New Orleans Pelipers. An impressive 5-0 win for Pokemon and the Pelipers, while Nexus and the Cavaliers take another big loss. Thoughts on this match, Gio?
Guja strikes again. Another strong performance by everyone's favorite Gooey Dragon, who continues to put in some serious work after being traded to the Pelipers before the start of the season. Pokemon's team is full of power, and I think that Gudra's power and versatility has been overlooked by several of the Pelipers' opponents this season. Look to Gudra to continue to put up numbers until teams strategize ways to take down this bulky monster.
Think Fizzy and the Haluchas are missing Gudra now? The Pelipers appear to be on a bit of a run after losing their first match to the Red Sox. Meanwhile, the Cleveland Cavaliers fall again and are at the bottom of the Silver Division. Nexus didn't have a great team matchup against the Pelipers, but not many teams do. He'll be looking to come out fast next week and try to grab a win for all the fans in Cleveland.
Finally, game number 8 this week was clash between the two expansion teams in the Johto Conference. Adam and the Anaheim Mighty Ducklets squared off against A-Drive's St. Louis Rampardos. Adam and the Ducklets squeaked by here with a 1-0 win in what was one of the best matches of the week.
Right you are, Gio. Coach A-Drive and the Rampardos brought a hazard stack strategy which almost proved to be the Ducklets' undoing. It even looked like the match was going to go to the Rampardos at the end, with the Ducklets' weakened Chandelure against the Rampardos' low HP Mega Charizard Y and Blissey. But the Ducklets had one last trick up their sleeve and revealed a second choice Scarf Pokemon, with Chandelure able to outspeed and kill Mega Charizard and Blissey for the 1-0 win. A great game, Gio.
Just a fantastic GBA match there, Tony. The Ducklets pick up their second win and keep the pressure on Cooper and the Jasmine at the top of the Silver Division. Coach A-Drive and the Rampardos fall to 1-2, but they should feel good about their team moving forward and are definitely a team to watch in the Johto Conference.
Now that we're all caught up on this week's matchups, let's have a look at the conference breakdown.
The Johto Conference continues to take a back seat to the Kanto Conference, which still has 2 undefeated teams after Week 3. All divisions are looking pretty competitive at the moment, with the Jasmine, Pelipers, Deoxys, and the Haluchas leading each of the divisions. The Old Guard is on top for now, but will we see a push by some of the expansion teams hoping to make the playoffs in their first year? You're going to have to stay tuned to find out.
Couldn't be more excited about how this season is starting to shape up, Gio. And let's finish off today with a look at the Season 3 MVP race. Not much of a change from last week here. A lot of the big stars just didn't put up huge numbers this week. Mega Venusaur holds on to the top spot with 7 kills and a +5 differential. Certainly a tough contender with great bulk, power, and typing after that thick fat ability kicks in.
The Sharpedos definitely have a winner with Mega Venusaur. At number 2, we have Manaphy of the Toronto Maple Leafeons sitting pretty with 6 kills and no deaths, netting it a +6 differential. Rocketing up to 3rd place is Garchomp with 6 kills and a +5 differential in its last week playing for the St. Louis Rampardos after an early season trade sends it packing to the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Volcarona drops down to 4th place, retaining its 5 kills and +5 differential, which it earned in just one stellar appearance this season with the Deoxys. Gudra, on the other hand, is climbing the charts with every appearance and grabs 5th place with its 5 kills and +4 differential. Whimsicott is also in at the surprise number 5th spot, tied with Gudra. The Utah Jasmine must be so proud of that little guy.
And ladies and gentlemen, that's it for this week's recap. Tune in next week for more weekly recap.
If you're interested in seeing more of your hosts, feel free to check out our personal channels. Links in the description down below.
I'm Gym Leader Geo.
And I'm Tony.
And on behalf of the GBA, thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you guys next time.
All right.
3, 2, 1.
Let's move on to match number 5, featuring the Minnesota Timberwolves versus the Milwaukee
Phone
Saucebugs.
shit. Sorry.
We should just left it like that. We should have kept going. Just have that phone.
Oh my god.